Wednesday afternoon, too. It's 4 o'clock in time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. We'll hear from Deshaun Watson as well as Shedeur Sanders here coming up in a few minutes. Browns continue mandatory minicamp out in Berea. Radio analyst Nathan Zagura with what he's seeing from the Browns quarterback competition between Sanders and Watson so far.
Well, I think if we had that guy, there wouldn't be a quarterback competition, right? And so you've got guys that have, Deshaun Watson, obviously the last time he played at an elite level was the year 2020. Now, we saw some glimpses of him here in his time with the Cleveland Browns. Same with Shedeur. We saw some flashes last year of things that were very encouraging. I think that both guys are embracing this offense. I think they're both throwing the ball well. Deshaun is throwing the ball incredibly well right now for the Cleveland Browns, which I like. But again, this is not football yet. This is, guys, nobody's being hit or anything like that. I think that Shedeur continues to improve, especially in his processing. And that's one of the things you talk to the coaches about, that he's shown a big improvement in that just in the time that he's been with this coaching staff. This is an offense that has a lot more freedom for the quarterback. This is an offense that allows them to make checks and to get into things that they're comfortable with based on the looks that they see. And so I think you're seeing two guys play well.
And the interesting thing is, when are you going to name a starting quarterback? Browns radio play-by-play analyst Andrew Siciliano on the timing of that and how important it is.
So they haven't named a starting quarterback yet. I don't think it's the end of the world. And even though Todd Monken had said, and he said it repeatedly, that he would like to have a starter figured out when we break tomorrow, I don't know that it's the end of the world if he doesn't. There is no game on June 11th. And to suggest that we have to name a starting quarterback on June 11th, to me, discounts any competition you're going to have in training camp. It discounts, I think, the most important parts of training camp, like the joint practice with the Bills when they come to town. We know how important they were last year with the joint practices in both Carolina and in Philadelphia. I think that matters. Camp matters. I don't think you need to name a starter, even though it would be great for talk radio. It would be great for all of us to have an idea of where you're going. And it would be great, I think, as well, for the offense to know who that guy is. But competition's a good thing.
Well, the other thing Todd Monken wants is he wants to win football games. So if you get the quarterback as good as you can get it, it gives you a better chance to win football games. Daryl Rodder talked about a guy we've talked about quite a bit on this show, Isaiah Bond, and what he's seen from him.
First of all, body, right? He looks a little bigger and stronger physically to the naked eye. His route running is vastly improved. His ball catching ability, his breakaway speed, the ability to get on top of a secondary, it's all there. He's got the toolbox, okay? It's just about refining it and getting the most out of it. But this is a kid, remember, last year, produced a little bit, okay? But wasn't here for training camp, most training camp, right? Yep. He came in midstream there as an undrafted free agent that became available there. So from the work he did on his body this offseason to better prepare him for his second year, that is absolutely noticeable. And then again, the refinement you can see. Whatever he has done on his own time, whatever he's done in practices that maybe we have not been there to witness ourselves, it's working, it's paying dividends. It's easy to see out there, and I think he has the potential to be one of the more exciting players for the Browns in this offense this season.
If the Browns can get a guy like Bond to be productive, then you have Concepcion, Boston, and Judy. All of a sudden, you have makings of some guys that can make plays with the ball in their hand. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders talked about things that he's working on to improve throughout these OTAs and mini camps, as well as playing for an old-school football coach like Todd Monken.
Seems like something familiar I was used to. It seems like a guy that I'm real familiar with. So I enjoy it. I definitely like his expectations he has for us, and it gives you no choice but to be great or to get out the way. I think it's just that simple. I try to make everything, being the best quarterback in the world, a point of emphasis. So whatever I need to improve, then I look at that and I try to improve. So it's just the whole thing. It's just being a better person, like just overall everything. So it's not one thing. It's when you look at everything as a whole, you understand. Okay, this is what I need to get better at, and I changed that.
Well, the other side of that quarterback competition, Deshaun Watson, he was asked kind of his thoughts on the quarterback competition.
I just come show up every day, so I can't control, coaches. He's the head coach. He's the one calling the plays, and, he got to decide who he wants out there on the field. So at the end of the day, I got to just show up each and every day and be ready, and wait for my numbers called.
Sean, coming off the Achilles, how important is it to you to get a chance to start again in this?
It's very important. I think each and every person that walks into the locker room should have that mindset that you want to start in this league. That's why we show up each and every day, is to be able to go out there and be able to perform on Sundays or whenever that day is. So, it's definitely the main focus of why, I work hard to be able to come back the way I do.
We will have plenty more on the Browns. We'll hear more from Sanders as well as Watson. Lance Reisland will join us from out in Berea. We'll also have Emory Hunt from CBS Sports a little bit later in the show. Let's talk a little bit about the Cavs. ESPN's national NBA analyst, Brian Windhorst, on if he thinks the Cavs will make some big moves this year.
I'm still trying to decide about whether or not I believe the Cavs are going to actually stand pat. That is definitely the vibe that they are sending out. I'm sure they're active in something, but I'm not before they traded for Harden, there was a disturbance on the force, and you knew they were going to try to do something big. I have not heard or felt that yet. But it's early June. The finals are still going on. We don't see transactions during the finals. You could make the case that stability has a lot of rewarding aspects, and you could argue that the Cavs have a lot going for them, and that if they're able to hold their core together and getting under the second apron without having to slice off an appendage is an accomplishment. Again, I know what Kobe said. I don't have evidence of them entering Giannis discussions, which is probably your next question. It doesn't mean that Jimmy Haslam isn't on the phone right now with Dan Gilbert and they're doing the deal, okay? I don't have evidence of that taking place in my discussions right now.
Jimmy Haslam is one of the owners of the Bucks, so that's why he would be on the phone with Dan Gilbert. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Lance Reisland from Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, up first from Berea, Sports4CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
You got so much to do. It's got you feeling blue. Put a little play in your day, 'cause it's fun. So come on, great games wait for you and me, Ohio, Lottery. Put a little play in your day. Put a little play in your day.
Day 2 of Browns mandatory minicamp. Let's take a look at some of the things that went on. Denzel Boston, along with Isaiah Bond, going through some wide receiver drills. Both of those guys continue to impress. Deshaun Watson got the first team reps. He finds Cedric Tillman with that pass. This time it's going to be Watson finding Denzel Boston, who continues to catch the football in OTAs. Can't wait till they put pads on. This time, this one is deflected and it ends up as an interception. Ronnie Hickman gets the pick that would likely be a pick six. Shedeur Sanders getting some work in as well. This time, tight end Brendan Bates gets the pass. This time it's Sanders do another one of the tight ends, Blake Whiteheart. And that's a pretty good throw in some coverage. Quinshon Judkins looks like he is healthy, which is really good news. You see that burst and that speed there. Let's welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Lance, you were out there, and what were kind of the things that you saw with quarterbacks?
Obviously a switch from yesterday. So you had Deshaun Watson taking most of the reps with the ones today. Same kind of thing as yesterday. Shedeur worked with the twos. They had a lot of individual work. You know, the practice is basically you're starting to get a feel of what Todd Monken's practices are going to be, where they go live or really, really game-like, and then they slow it down and teach, and then they get into special teams, and that's kind of how it goes after you get through individual and group work. So I thought the quarterbacks did a great job. Now, I don't quite see it like everybody else. I'm kind of looking at the footwork. I'm kind of looking at, are they making great decisions? There's some balls that are off target. You know, people have already asked me, what about yesterday, today? Who was better? Well, I will say, yeah, I thought Shedeur was pretty impactful yesterday. He makes some great throat plays down the field. He had a big mistake from Deshaun Watson today with that interception to Hickman. That was a very poor throw, but he also had some really, really good throws. And once again, I don't get too high or too low on either of these two. I think it's pretty healthy competition. I think it will go into training camp. But if you ask me the last 2 days, I thought Shedeur was really sharp yesterday. And I thought Deshaun was solid today, not great. So they both will know more once the pads go on. I thought everybody handled the heat out here today. Today was like a training camp, mid-August day today. It was hot, and these guys did a nice job of competing.
All right, Shedeur Sanders, after the practice today, talked about the quarterback competition with Deshaun Watson and trying to earn QB1 with Browns here.
See, I think the way how y'all look at things is different than how we look at things. We look at coming to practice every day being the best player we can be as an individual and as a good teammate. Y'all look at it as like a competition. It's like that's not really nothing I'm just focused on. I'm focused on developing as a player, like doing everything, getting as comfortable as I can in the offense and the scheme and playing with that confidence I had. So I think that's all I'm really looking for and trying to improve every day, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like, I'm just trying to be a better person every day. And wherever that falls into place, it'll fall into place.
Lance, if you are involved in one of those competitions, you can't view it like that because it'll drive you crazy if you do. So he has the absolute right approach to it.
Yeah, and at this point in time, to give themselves a chance when the pads go on, because it's all a final. Everything they're doing now builds up to when they get the pads on, when they have the joint practices, preseason games. That's when it counts. So right now, as everything's leading up to that. And he said it best, and that's one thing he's been really good at the 2 years that I've watched him. He's a really good teammate. Deshaun Watson has been a really good teammate to him. They encourage each other. They push each other. You can see them talking after plays. So there's, I think Shedeur said it best there. Right now, they're figuring out, how do I get really good at what I can do? How do I know where I'm going so I can make good decisions when the pads go on and when it counts? And I've been very impressed with both guys. They have stayed the course, and they're both practicing very hard.
Watson also met with the media first time since that injury. He was asked about the opportunity to be a starter again and his mindset.
And it's a blessing. It's great. Anytime you get the opportunity to play in the National Football League is an honor. So, I don't take it for granted. I work hard to do what I need to do each and every day to just try to put out the best, product I can on the field.
Deshaun, where's your mindset just entering, the final year of your contract? Obviously, everything that's gone on injury-wise over the past 2 years, really the past couple of years. Just where are you at mentally, your mindset, how are you approaching it all?
I'm great mentally. I'm in a great space. My home is good. Me and my wife is doing a heck of a job, just working each and every day mentally to just stay on top of what we need to stay on top of. So I appreciate her. I appreciate the staff and the organization for always, having my back. And, I'm in a good space, enjoying myself out here, enjoying my teammates and the new coaching staff. So I'm in a great space.
And you can tell by the way he's reacting to that he is. Deshaun Watson was also asked about playing in a new system, playing in Todd Monken's system.
That's a lot of responsibility on the quarterbacks in this system. And I think that that's what I had in Houston when I was with Bill O'Brien. It was, pretty much that Tom Brady tree, and everything relied on the quarterback operation. So with Monk, he's given a lot of responsibility to us. And, you got to own up to the responsibilities and the situations and what you decide to do on the field. And I think that's something that I'm very comfortable with.
Lance, when you look at that, Todd Monken's system seems to fit both of these guys better than the old system did.
Yeah, this system's all about players in space. This system's all about, I use the term players over plays, and that's really what it comes down to. So these guys, when they say there's a lot of responsibility, if you get a coverage you like, if you get a front that you don't like, you can get in and out of plays. You can playmakers are going to touch the ball. You see that with Isaiah Bond and Concepcion in Boston. When Fannin starts practicing again, it's more of a touch. Who's getting touches? Not worried so much about the system, but more worried about players. And that's good for Deshaun Watson because he's a playmaker. It's also very good for Shedeur Sanders because that's what he does well, once the games start as well.
Yeah, Kevin Stefanski's system was much more rigid. Shedeur Sanders also asked kind of about what he has seen from all the young players throughout the offseason program.
I think every rookie out here looks way more comfortable. You get what I'm saying? We a team. We communicate through different things. We know each other's skill set. We know what we like. We know what we don't like. I think they get put in great positions to be able to maximize what they do and still grow for the things that they need to grow in. Even me, So we work on those things as individuals every day about what we need to improve, and we better apply it in the next period. Our coach is going to be very mad.
Lance, there's 54 players that are 25 years or younger. That it's a blessing and a curse. You're going to have some mistakes, but you would think that it is a team that kind of grows as the season goes along.
Well, yeah, you can see that out here. You can see the youth when they're doing stuff. You can see the energy they practice with. You can see the mistakes they make. There are a bunch of mistakes with where they're supposed to be, things they're supposed to do, who they're supposed to block, things that you would expect from a young team, especially where they're at with their installation. Now, the thing I like about what Shedeur said is what Monken does best. Monken really believes in what got you to be a pro, because this is 1% of 1% out here. These guys are the elite players in the world, and there's something that they do that made them elite. Now, there's all things they got to work on, but Monken's going to focus on what you do best. He's going to focus on what you got you to the NFL. And that's what gives these guys, a ton of confidence when they go into practice. It's not based on a system that you have to fit into. It's what do you do best, and I'm going to make that fit into my system. So I think he's excited for that. I think all these guys are excited for that because it gives you an opportunity to maximize your skill set and still grow and work on what you need to.
What were your takeaways from today when you watched it? Who stood out? What after walking away from today's workout? What were your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, I was very impressed with their work through the heat. It was hot out here. They went the full 2 hours again. Monken takes the full practice allotment time. He's not wasting any time. He's not giving these guys a break. Obviously, he coaches them hard and he loves them harder. And it's very old school. When you hear Shedeur Sanders talk, you get that idea of reminds me of my dad. We're going to do it right or we're going to do it over. It's nothing personal. It's all based on your performance. And I think guys like that, they know what the expectations are. They're going to practice full. I think it's going to be a very physical training camp. I really look forward to seeing that when the pads go on. So that was the first thing. I was really impressed on how they handled the heat. A guy that, besides Isaiah Bond, Denzel Boston has been outstanding through the first 2 days. Continuously catches the ball. His catch radius is outstanding. Another 50-50 ball down the field he made today from Deshaun Watson during an 11-on-11 period. Casey Concepcion has not had any drop issues. He's doing everything. He's inside, outside, motioning. I've been very impressed with what they're doing on offense with motion and movement, giving the quarterback a clear picture with everything they're doing. There's a lot on these quarterbacks' plates, and you can see that. But once the quarterbacks learn it, they love it because they can get themselves out of bad plays. And if you know what you're doing, you're allowed to play fast. And if you know what you're doing, your footwork is better. So I've been very impressed just as a team, just the energy they have. Today was a good test because they went a solid 2 hours in mid-August heat out here. It was hot, and they competed. It was fun to watch.
Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we'll continue talking Browns, especially an under-the-radar breakout candidate for the Browns. Sports4CLE. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Lance and I have talked about the wide receiving room. Another Browns beat reporter, Daryl Ryder, on what he's been seeing from the Browns wide receivers so far in OTAs and minicamp.
I'm not going to sit here and act like the Browns have an embarrassment of riches right now.
Right.
However, the potential's there. Like, there's a lot of potential in that room. It's night and day from a year ago as far as my feelings on the wide receiver room. Look, I think Jerry Jeudy's going to be better just by having better players around him, okay? Isaiah Bond having a great spring. In Boston, looks like he's going to be an explosive playmaker. Now, I listen, I don't want to get people too hyped up right now because I do recognize they're in helmets, shirts, and shorts, right, okay? Mm-hmm. But it looks good. And then Casey Concepcion, yeah, okay, he's going to drop a pass here or there, but he's going to catch more than he drops, and he's a yard after catch guy. and so, yeah, when I look at that wide receiver room, I see 4 guys. You throw in Harold Fannin Jr., that's 5 legitimate offensive targets for whoever the quarterback's going to be. And that is a very exciting prospect to think about. Oh, by the way, we haven't even mentioned the running backs catching the ball out of the backfield too, right? So there's going to be some options offensively, it seems like.
And Lance, we've talked about that. The thing that does is it makes your quarterback, it makes his job a whole bunch easier. But that wide receiver room, not only are there different guys, different skill sets.
Well, Daryl and I were standing next to each other the last couple of days, and a bunch of us are standing there. And I think Daryl is as optimistic as I am. And not only does it help Jerry Jeudy, which I think is a great point by him, but there's other guys too. Ced Tillman is still making plays, and he's made plays at the NFL level. Jamari Thrash has some solid days here. Then Larvadan and Luke Floria, and there's some other guys too. Aaron Anderson. There's guys who have just made plays, and there's competition there. Now, when you talk about those first 4 guys, Isaiah Bond he's pushing to be more than just a number 2. He's going to push. He's going to be in that realm as their number 1 guy too if he keeps progression the way he is. Now, they're in helmets, and I get that. But what things that translate for me, being in pads really translates to the offensive line and the front 7. As a receiver, you can see routes being run. You can see skill sets. You can see catch radius. You can see bursts. You can see run after catch. Those are things that really translate when you look at receivers, even without full pads on. So, yeah, all these guys have been outstanding. Boston today was outstanding. His catch radius and ability to go get the 50-50 balls is exactly what everybody thought it was. And Casey Concepcion has not had a drop issue these first 2 days, and he's a different mover when he gets the ball in space. Everybody will love him when they see him run the ball.
All right, under-the-radar breakout candidates for 2026, this from CBS Sports, and it's one of those running backs for the Browns, Dylan Sampson. All eyes will be on Quinshon Judkins. He represents the lead back in the running game, but don't dismiss fellow 2025 draftee Sampson. Could be 1B in the Browns' backfield, particularly on passing downs. Caught 33 of his 40 targets, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns. The other thing that I think that the reason that I like this thought, he's a matchup guy, and Todd Monken is a guy whose offense revolves around those, and Sampson could be a problem out of the backfield catching the football.
Yeah, you saw that yesterday. Yesterday they worked a 3rd down and short, a 4th down and short kind of period, situational stuff, and he was outstanding catching the ball out of the backfield, arrow routes, Texas route, angle routes. So he did a really nice job with that yesterday. And again today out of the backfield. He does a bunch of different things with motion. Again, he's kind of a positionless guy in this type of offense where he's just looking for touches. Now, I will tell you with the rest of this running back room, right? Obviously, Judkins, we know. Obviously, Rocket Sanders has been very solid. And I've also been impressed with our Armani Marshall. He's a guy that can spot them when they need power runs, especially down in the red zone. I think this running back room is a lot deeper than just Judkins. I think it's a lot deeper than just Sampson, but Sampson's the guy in this offense, can play in the slot, out of the backfield. He's a touch guy. And if you think about him, Concepcion, more than positions, you're thinking, how do we get touches? That's what Monken does best, and you're seeing that out here already.
All right, so the cornerback that the Browns traded for last year, Tyson Campbell, what he's observed from the Browns quarterbacks in these OTAs and minicamp.
It's been great, man. They've been playing their butts off. You could tell they're getting comfortable in the offense and adding their little touches to it. They're 2 different quarterbacks But it's been fun to see. You can tell like Deshaun's been a great leader, and and Shador's like soaking up all the knowledge he can from Deshaun. So they're both helping each other out, and I believe iron sharpens iron. So it's been great.
You obviously got here a little midway through the season last year, but how have you seen Shador sort of grow? Todd talked about this a lot, from what you saw last year and those 7 starts in particular to this year.
Oh yeah, like from the point I got to the Browns during that season all the way to now, like you can see the growth big time, and the way he carries himself, the way he practices, you can tell like he's being even more than the pro that he was last year. He's getting better, and he's getting more comfortable in the offense, and he's been making plays.
So, Lance, you'll get this. The reason we play that, the way he carries himself, the way he practices, those are things that are important to teammates.
Well, yeah, and it's funny when you talk about the last 2 days. I've been asked a number of questions since practice ended on, who had a better practice yesterday or today. And obviously they all made some really good throws and really, some bad ones and some questionable decisions. But there is something about Shador Sanders, his impact on his teammates. And he seems like a really positive kid. And every day I've watched him since he's been here, all he does is practice hard. He never loafs. Even when he wasn't getting any reps last year, he didn't loaf. So obviously he's involved in this rotation. He's involved in this QB competition. And a guy like Tyson Campbell, you get these cornerbacks are aggressive, and they're going to give these quarterbacks really good looks. But yeah, there's something to be said about the it factor, and I am not a huge believer in that at some positions. At the quarterback position, I am. He has that factor where he impacts his teammates in a really great way. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, again, there will be some days that are bad and good, and everybody will kind of have their own thoughts. For me, this is all building to when they get pads on and when they get to joint practices and when preseason gets here. But till then, these guys are working, they're competing, they're helping each other, and this is a football team that does not think they're years away from being successful. This is a football team with talent, and the quarterbacks are included.
Shador Sanders talked about the new offensive line and playing behind them.
Yeah, the new line, they really cool. We definitely have a lot of things in common that we talk about, and I think it's real cool. I think they really go out their way, to connect with everybody. And I think it's natural also. I think we have a lot of cool activities that we're all going to get together, either individually, or as a big group and do. So it's the team honestly is real fun. It's real exciting to be around. It's not really a dull moment when you have all these different players, personalities, everything. So it never feels like work. It never feels like you going out here in this long days. You look at everything like it's fun and it's a game.
Lance, the it factor that we were referring to, it's what Todd Monken referred to as leading the football team. And right now, it seems like a lot of these guys want to follow Shador Sanders.
Well, yeah, and I thought he made a great point about the offensive line. What they've done with the offensive line is two things. They've got younger, so obviously these guys are closer to his age. These guys are closer to my daughter's age than they are, me. So I look at it and just kind of say, this is a younger football team. This is a football team that's been in flux with a ton of athletic talent. They've improved themselves athletically, dramatically. And once again, there is something magnetic about Shador Sanders. And once again, I try to keep it to what I see on the field. Off the field, I've seen nothing but a kind kid who does what kids do. They play video games. They have fun. He comes from a famous family. None of that means anything to me. When you watch him between the lines, he's gotten better every time I see him. He works on his craft really, really hard. If you're a Browns fan and you're just covering what you see, I don't really care who the quarterback is. I want the Browns to be successful. And if it's Shador Sanders and his leadership and being, having impact on his other teammates, then maybe it'll be him. It'll be a great summer. I look forward to watching it every single day.
Lance, as always, great stuff. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us from out at Berea and Browns Minicamp. Thanks, Lance.
Absolutely. We just beat the rain. Well, we didn't beat the rain, but we made it work. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Day 3.
Appreciate it. Lance Reisland, make sure you check him out. cleveland.com, always great Browns coverage. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Emory Hunt from CBS Sports straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to Go Forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
You got so much to do, it's got you feeling blue. Put a little play in your day, 'cause it's fun all over the state. So come on, great games wait for you and me, the Ohio Lottery. Put a little play in your day. Put a little play in your day.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Browns radio network analyst Nathan Zagura, what he is seeing from the Browns offense so far in minicamp.
I'm just encouraged by the offense in general. I'm not necessarily tying it to the quarterback position. I like what I'm seeing from Todd Monken. I like what I see from the scheme. And again, the speed, the juice, what I would call the element of danger. And even talk to some guys on our defense, they think it's like night and day in terms of what we have overall in that wide receiver room with the additions of Boston and Concepcion. And the fact that Isaiah Bond, who averaged over 18 yards a catch last year, is kind of really starting to hit his stride. It feels like in his second year, I talked to him, he added 15 pounds of muscle. He is still running by everybody. He's worked on his catching in terms of he liked to jump a lot when he caught the ball. He's worked on that. He looks really good. Judy looks good. So that's the thing that I think most people will see for sure when they come out to training camp, to be like, okay, this is an offense that has some playmakers now who can catch the football.
Let's welcome in Emory Hunt from CBS Sports. Emory, appreciate the time. What do you expect from this Browns offense?
He touched on it, man. A lot of speed, a lot of catch and run opportunities with guys that can really go, and a lot of big plays, chunk plays in the passing game. Something we haven't seen from Cleveland since Baker Mayfield was under center and Jameis Winston at some points in time when he was out there as a starter. The deep ball is back in effect, but also just the ability to create big plays in the passing game. People need to remember Isaiah Bond was projected as a first-round type player before he went undrafted. So it's almost like the Browns got themselves a free first-round pick. You know, how I felt about him, and also how I felt about Shedeur Sanders being a first-round guy that the Browns were able to get in round 5. So when you look at that receiving core, Casey Concepcion, first-round pick. Boston projected to be a first-round that goes in round 2. And you got the one in Isaiah Bond that was projected to go round 1. So they got a lot of talent, a lot of speed, and the competition is still open for those guys at that position, because you can't forget about Malachi Corley. You can't forget about Cedric Tillman. You can't forget about those guys, Laura Dane, and also what you were able to bring in from the Ravens in a guy in
Tylan Wallace. Tylan Wallace.
Exactly. So, someone that's chomping at the bit for an opportunity to be in a rotation as opposed to just being a special teams guy. So I'm excited about the receiving core. And as we add the tight end group in there, you have to be super excited about the passing game as a whole.
And that should just make whomever the quarterback is, Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson, significantly better.
Right. And the thing with Shedeur, I'll start with him first, and watching him since Jackson State, this is the best. I know it's the NFL, so it's obviously easy to say this, but this is the best collection of talent he has been around. So I'm excited to see what that looks like for him. Not only just from the skill players at wide receiver, but from the protection and from the potential of the run game and how they can utilize those backs in the passing game as well. And for Deshaun Watson, the one thing, and I'm glad he touched on it today when he spoke about, his time in Cleveland, how he hadn't been this healthy since 2023. To me, the one thing about Deshaun Watson that you love about him in Houston was he had that deep ball. And from the clips that we've seen from camp, the deep ball is back in his arsenal. And that was a testament to how injured that shoulder was. So, yes, to any quarterback, this is a good room to be in terms of the situation with the O-line, the wide receivers, and the run game. So I'm excited to see how these guys get to compete again once the pads come on, because then we can assess the O-line and D-line. Right now, it's just been a passing camp.
Yeah, what do you think about that? How good can the remade offensive line be? Some people are saying, well, they overpaid for this guy. They needed 5 guys, and they went out and got more, but they needed 5 guys.
They needed 5 guys, and they got those guys, and they got depth along the offensive line too. Because as much as we talk about the acquisitions, you can't forget about how good DeJuan Jones looks physically in terms of him losing weight, and he looks to be ready to go. That's a bonus. KT Levison competing with what you have already in tow with Tevin Jenkins. That's another asset. Then I'm looking at the roster here. You have rookies in Parker Brailsford that you bring in, depth back there. Luke Whippler, another one that provides good depth. So I think not only did they improve the frontline starters, but the depth looks better now than it did last season. And to those that tend to say, well, they overpaid, listen, by week 9, everybody's complaining about there's not enough offensive linemen out there. They don't grow on trees. So, yeah, of course. So when you see one that's worth its weight, you pay them. And it's not your money. It doesn't matter if you overpay them, because as we know, the cap goes high every year. It'll look like a bargain this time next year. So pay for those guys to protect up front. And I think, again, we're in on-paper season. So on paper, everybody healthy. This offensive line is vastly improved than what we saw last season.
All right, Quinshon Judkins, second-year running back, talked about how he feels after losing the end part of last year to a broken leg, as well as how much better the run game can be for the Browns this year.
I would say, like you said, confident. I know the work that I put in, so I'm prepared to just go out there and just put it on the field.
What was the rehab like for you? Did you ever get discouraged, or how did you stay motivated?
Just taking it day by day, man, and just really knowing the goal and where I want to be, and getting back to making plays on the field and just feeling like myself. So that's what my main goal was.
And as well as you played last year, how much better do you think you can be with it behind this revamped line?
Yeah, I think just all my team, all around, man, just really with more experience, more different looks you get, and just learning football more. So I think it helps any player.
Emory, he looks like he hadn't missed a beat. He doesn't look like a guy that's coming off an injury. He's got the burst. He's quick, and he was really good. Think about it. Last year, he had the fewest yards before contact of any starting running back. I can't imagine what happens once he gets a head of steam going.
Right. And behind a very good offensive line on paper, behind an improved passing game that now you have to respect the passing game, which opens up lanes for you to run the football. And by him being injured, it allowed these other guys behind him to get burned. So we saw the potential of a Rocket Sanders. We definitely saw the potential of a Dylan Sampson. So now he has added motivation to get out there and make sure he gets with it right away. And so I'm excited about the run game potential. When I talked about the Browns in the schedule release, and I was like, they could run the football, people like, they didn't run the ball well last year. They ran the ball well when things were healthy. That was how they beat the Dolphins. That was how they came back against the Packers, obviously the defensive stuff like that. But when we didn't get to see the full gambit of him with Shador down that back stretch because he got injured. So they had enough of the run game is what I was saying. And so now when we look at this backfield depth, I think they have guys that they trust, guys that can catch the ball out of the backfield, and Judkins and Sampson, guys that they can trust to be one-cut downhill runners in what we've seen so far in Rocket Sanders. So to me, I feel like the Browns definitely have a lot of positives on this side of the ball, starting with Judkins.
All right, longtime Browns beat reporter Tony Grossi, some observations about Todd Monken from OTAs and mandatory minicamp.
Todd Monken is more hands-on with the receivers than he is with the quarterbacks. The quarterback coach, whom Monken has worked with on 2 other occasions, is the hands-on guy with the quarterbacks. Monken spends a lot of time with the receivers, coaching them loudly about routes and, no, you go this way, that way. They have so much pre-snap motion, it's a complicated position in Monken's offense. And he's trusting Bajakian with the quarterbacks. And Schweitzer, the offensive coordinator.
Well, the other thing is in a passing camp, you can work with them because there's nuances to the way he wants the routes run. But when you talk about the receivers they have, they're young and they're all skilled now.
Right, and they're fast. And herein lies the gift and the curse when you have fast guys. A lot of times they can't control their speed. They want to beat you with speed, so they may try to, quickly get to a spot, but that may not be the timing of the play. And so it's mostly about how to get to your spot while playing fast, but also playing under control, and then knowing how and when to utilize your speed. So I love the fact that he's coaching these guys hard to let them know, hey, I need you to arrive here at this particular point in the route, as opposed to getting here maybe too fast or too late. And now is the time to do so, because you have the luxury of no pass rush. You have the luxury of, being able to work on the timing of the passing game before you add in the blocking element of it. And yeah, once you get to, to the part of the training camp where, the bullets are live, you got, pass rush and blocking, now you can ad lib a little bit. That's when you go back to coach the quarterbacks on, hey, what are you seeing now? Hey, you was on that progression too long. You got to move quickly. The receivers right now, getting their timing down, and this portion of the offseason program is exactly what he's supposed to do.
Emory Hunt from CBS Sports Tonight. Going to step aside, take a quick time out of the break. We will continue talking Browns. We'll dive a little bit into Jared Verse and the Myles Garrett trade. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Emory Hunt from CBS Sports. Nathan Zagura, Browns radio network analyst, talking about how good the Browns can be after the Myles Garrett trade.
There is only one Myles Garrett, best defensive player in the league, period. Jared Verse is a really good player. I think we're still going to be really good on defense. In fact, Jared Verse was very easy to see on the field yesterday as he was able to get to the quarterback a couple times. Just so quick, so strong. Alex Wright told me that he's becoming much more comfortable here and becoming a more vocal leader, which is good to see because that's his natural personality, that alpha, that leader type of a guy. But we're still going to be a really good defense. We're going to be as good? Probably. I mean, Myles Garrett is singularly great. We had 23 of our 53 sacks a year ago. But to me, this team is going to go as the offense goes. Like we won, we had Myles Garrett. We won 8 games the last 2 years. For this team to go from 5 wins to 10 wins, that means that this offense has gotten significantly better and significantly more productive. I don't think it's necessarily tied to the defense as much. And I think a lot of people, when you take a step back, are aware of that. Like, this is a team, and that's why Todd Monken is the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. He says it all the time. I'm here to get this offense going. We have a good defense.
Emory, how surprised were you that Myles Garrett got traded? I was. And what do you think what does it do to the Browns defense?
I was absolutely shocked because we spent a good, 16 American months saying that he wasn't going nowhere, right? And then he ends up getting traded. But as quickly, I was like, dang, they really traded Myles Garrett, getting Jared Verse. I was like, all right, well, yes, Myles Garrett and Nathan Segura nailed it perfectly. Yeah, he's great. He's a Hall of Fame. He's an all-time Brown, all-time great in the NFL, in NFL history. However, Verse is no slouch. Verse is a really good football player, and you have him as an ascending, youthful, talented player alongside a defensive line that has some youthful talent. They can all ascend together. And this athletic defense was now got a little bit more athletic. And they didn't lose athleticism without, by losing Myles Garrett. And Verse is going to be very good. And I'm pretty sure Verse is chomping at the bit to get out there because the one thing he's been hearing about is not having double-digit sacks. He's getting pressures but not sacks. Well, he gets an opportunity to go out there and crush that number the last 2 seasons in Los Angeles. So I feel like the shock initially was like, dang, they really moved off from Garrett. But Verse is a nice consolation prize along with the draft pick, along with the freed up cap space, along with the Browns that have done a good job in adding quality, players in season and even before the season. They still can add more talent now at that position if you really look around the league and say, hey, there's an opportunity to add more. So I like the move. It sets them up. It kind of fits the mindset that they want now, which is a young football team, and youth can be a gift and also a curse. And to Zagura's point about the defense being good, now with this, if the offense can be good, you can play complementary football. You don't need a top 3 defense. Prior to this offseason of offensive firepower that they've added, the Browns needed a top 3 defense to stay in games. Now you can win games if your offense is good with a top 10 defense, top 15 defense, and that's all you need, just key stops in the ball game. But it's all predicated on their offense being what we expect it to be this season.
Does this system allow Verse to be even better? And Nathan alluded to it. He's more vocal. Everybody wanted Myles Garrett to be vocal. Myles Garrett's not a vocal guy. Jared Verse is a vocal guy. You want vocal, you got vocal.
Right, and that's the thing. And I love the fact that Myles stayed true to who he was. Like, you can't fake enthusiasm. You can't fake vocal leadership. If that's not your thing, you lead by example. And he had a great example of how to go about his work because he was an all-time great. Verse is more of a vocal leader. So that's more natural for him. And this is probably how the defense we'll see how this manifests itself in the defense responding to someone that's a vocal leader on that team. And I love the fact he comes to hit reset in Cleveland. I'm pretty sure he thought he was going to be a part of this dynasty in Los Angeles, and now you had a quick shock to the system and get shipped to Cleveland. Hey, all right, they moved on from me. They think I'm that tradable. Let me go out here and ball out to show folks why I was who I was when they drafted me in the first round.
All right, Daryl Ryder, Browns beat reporter for 92.3 The Fan, talking about what he's seen from the Browns quarterback competition.
Well, I think Shedeur had the better day. No question about it. They got to throw the ball deep a little bit. But they're still working on things. And I actually posted a clip earlier because I had asked Todd Monken, during a portion of practice, I'm like watching the quarterbacks, I'm man, these guys are just holding on to the ball way, way too long. And I'm looking down the field and like, I'm not seeing a lot of separation from the receivers. And I'm like, are they just not getting separation? Is the quarterback these guys not seeing what they're supposed to do? And I'm talking about all the quarterbacks, not just Shedeur, not just Deshaun, just all of them. And the dangers of criticizing a practice live in time, because I was about to post, hey, I'm watching these quarterbacks right now. My goodness gracious, I'm getting to 8, 9, 10 Mississippi here, and they still got the ball in their hands trying to throw the thing. Turns out, good thing I asked Todd Monken that question because he clarified, we were working a little on the scramble drill, a little on the extending plays drills there, and wanting the quarterbacks to focus on keeping their eyes downfield while their feet are moving and dissecting the defense and trying to find a good quality pass to throw. So, but now I would say advantage Shedeur today.
And that was from yesterday. Todd Monken has said a number of times, and he said it yesterday when he was asked that, they are going to run the scramble drill more. They're going to run scramble during an NFL game more than any other play.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I'm glad you prefaced it that way, because I feel like in the offseason and when we're watching practice, minicamp, OTAs, training camps, people forget what real football looks like. In a real game, it's not 1, 2, 3, boom. That to me, that sounds like dump off slants. In a real game, when you think about Shedeur's big play to Isaiah Bond in the Raiders game. That was beating a blitz to the outside, launching a deep ball down the field to where Isaiah Bond, was able to run underneath it and catch it and fall down at the 1. If that was in OTA, he was like, well, Shedeur's holding the ball too long. But this is real football, right? And if you look at some of the things where he did in against the Titans, a lot of that is past 2.3 seconds or whatever, right? So I'm glad Monk can clarify it, and that's why you got to. It's practice. It's not a game. Yeah, you could try to simulate some game type situations, and usually that's evident with when they'll put the clock up there and they'll put the score up there and they say, hey, you got you're down 4, we need a touchdown. You got 1 timeout, and we're on the -40. Go get us a touchdown. That's when you kind of simulate those game situations. Everything else, remember, it's practice. It's working on things, working on timing, working on the little nuances.
Here's a question, and I'm curious your take on this. Does the trade of Myles Garrett alter the calculus in that quarterback decision at all, do you think?
Not at all, because if you feel like Shador is the guy, then he would have been the guy regardless. If you feel like Deshaun is the guy, then he would have been the guy regardless. I feel like the Myles Garrett trade is two separate, in the quarterback situation, is two separate things. They wanted to get value while they still came for Myles Garrett. They got great value for him in terms of getting a known commodity, number one, but also a future potential asset in the first round pick. You'll figure out your quarterback situation. It still doesn't matter who wins it. Even though I know some people may say, well, this screams start the young guy. Well, if Deshaun outplays him, then start Deshaun because he's only on a 1-year deal. And that's not a bad thing for Shador. Honestly, if he loses that battle and it's close, and hey, okay, well, you got Deshaun for a year or until they feel like they want to move on and go to Shador. But Shador now would have another year in the system that he could hit the ground running in 2027. Or if Shador wins the job, that's even better for you because you got a clear idea of this is your guy. And now you can really go into 2027 and continue to stockpile talent around him and the rest of this roster because Andrew Berry is coming off of back-to-back excellent draft classes. So why would I expect him to not have a third consecutive excellent draft class if Shador lands the starting spot and ends up being what we thought he would have been coming into the league as a first-round type talent?
Emory Hunt from CBS Sports and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side break, we continue talking Browns sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
You got so much to do, it's got you feeling blue. Put a little play in your day, 'cause it's fun all over the state. So come on, great games away for you and me, the Ohio Lottery. Put a little play in your day. Put a little play in your day.
We continue talking Browns with Emory Hunt from CBS Sports. Emory, you look at the Browns roster. What areas do you think are strengths now, and what areas do you think still need some work?
I feel like the offense is a strength now, and we kind of touched on the receiving core, tight ends, obviously with Harold Fannin. I'm a big fan of Joe Royer. Carson Ryan gives you a good blocking tight end, but a guy that's very underrated as well. The quarterback room is the quarterback room. I feel like they got solid players in that quarterback room working with Todd Monken. We talked about the backfield. Where I feel like the Browns still, I love the linebacking core. I feel like they are super athletic now. Quincy Williams, Jefferson, the rookie out of Bama, can really fly, and Carson Swessinger, obviously. I feel like the depth is going to be key for the Browns, especially on the defensive line. Can they find guys that can help spell some of the frontline starters? Can the interior defensive line stay healthy for a full 17-game season? And can they find those second-tier players at cornerback to step in and probably spell and push for a starting role and kind of give you good quality minutes? So that's the most exciting part about it because we've seen enough from the offense where you kind of feel confident. They just have to stay healthy because, again, it's on paper season. But as we go into training camp to real football season, we'll learn a lot about the depth along the defensive line, the depth in the secondary at the cornerback position. When I talk about defensive line, can guys like Aiden Huntington stay healthy and be a significant player in that rotation? And that's something that you want to continue to watch for. But I feel like the linebackers are there, but defensive line, secondary, cornerback is where I'm looking to see them build that quality depth moving forward.
You look at this roster, and only 2 players are 30 or older, and there's 54 that are 25 or younger. What does that say to you, and what are some of the positives and then some of the challenges that go with so many young guys assembled together?
The positives are they're in their prime. They're hitting their prime athletically. And so you're going to get the best version of these guys physically. And that's a great thing because you're going to be your fastest at that age. You're going to be your strongest. You're going to be all of those things right now. And you're all hitting it at the same time. Conversely, the downside is you don't have the experience, the calluses on the wall. You don't know what that looks like to be successful, right? Because you hadn't had success. And not many guys on this roster outside of, let's say, a Jared Verse had success. Elton Jenkins had success. Even Titus Howard had success. So you're trying to draw from guys that, are young, but hey, we saw success, but we only saw it at a certain point. The only one that has gone the whole way has been Jared Verse, right? In terms of what he has seen play out. And so I feel like that's where it can be a detriment to a young team. But you love the head coach who's also seen it from afar and has been there and seen it from at the collegiate level, won championships, also seen it at the highest level, at the NFL level with, having an MVP guy, having the number 1 seed, all of those things. So I think it's a good mix because you have the prime young talent, guys that are hungry, that are tired of losing. They don't know what they don't know. They don't care about the past. They just care about the now and the future. But also, when things get tough, when they're 9, let's say they're 9-3, and they got to win one more game to get to the postseason. What does that look like for a team that's 25 and younger? Are they looking around the locker room like who's going to be the leader? Is it just one guy? Is his voice getting stale because he's been the only one talking all season? Who develops? Like all of those things you worry about when you don't have, let's say 10 veteran guys that are vocal in that room.
All right, this is from the Bleacher Report. The players with most approved during mandatory minicamp. They go J.J. McCarthy from the Vikings, Keon Coleman of the Bills, Thibodeau from the Giants, Deshaun Watson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Murphy, Pearsall, Penix. That's absolutely fair, I guess. Watson hasn't been healthy. The biggest question with him is, can you come back from 2 Achilles and a busted up shoulder?
Right, and here's the thing I'll say about Deshaun Watson. I'm a Deshaun Watson fan. I love the fact that he was someone that had that it factor, that magic about him, and we saw that in Houston all the time. And the one game that sticks in my mind when he's a Brown was the Cowboys game and him trying to push the ball deep down the field. I was like, man, it just don't look the same. He doesn't have that same. He used to throw the football like Warren Moon. It was a smooth stroke. And the spiral was on point, and he could drive the football deep down the field. And if that element of his game is back, then he's going to be back to the old Deshaun Watson. Now, for Watson and why he has the most to prove is because of what you just talked about. He's been injured. He hadn't looked like the Deshaun Watson in Houston. He's coming off the 2 Achilles injuries. And if he's going out there and battling a Shedeur Sanders, let's call it what it is. Shedeur Sanders should have been a first-round pick. So he's out there competing with a guy that was projected to be a franchise quarterback, and he's still young enough to where he could be a franchise quarterback. I'm talking about Deshaun Watson. If he wins this battle and it's clear-cut, that's good for him. If he loses this battle and it's close, and you still see glimpses of the old Deshaun Watson, that's still good. But if he loses this battle and he looks like what he's looked like so far in Cleveland, and he doesn't have that same juice throwing the ball deep down the field like he had in Houston, then that's a problem. So I feel like that's why he does have a lot to prove, because it's about how he looks, whether he wins or loses this battle. It's about what it looks like, which matters long-term past the season for Deshaun Watson.
All right, before I let you go, after the Myles Garrett trade, realistic expectations for Browns fans of this season coming up?
I've been on record, and multiple times over. I did a video where we broke down the whole schedule, went game by game. I'm still saying 10-7. I feel like the Browns can surprise some people. And the reason why I like the fact that they are in the mix is because the offense will give them a chance. And when you're young enough, I feel like the team can get off to a good start. Where they'll find the valleys of the season ties into the point of where I talked about the depth concerns. It's going to be on the back end when, it's a war of attrition. When we need guys to step in and play, as coaches would say, we need guys to step in and play for a 2-week span until this guy gets back. Do they have that depth? And that's something that could potentially keep them out of the postseason. But I still feel like this team has enough on both sides of the ball to where 10 wins is definitely realistic. And people think that's a hot take, but at the end of the day, 6-1 score games last year. Shedeur Sanders and company went 3-4 down the stretch. They probably should have been 5-2 if we look at that Titans game and that Bills game and other games they had leads in. They had a lead against Baltimore and Cleveland when we saw Shedeur Sanders for the first time, right? And things may have been different if Larverdane catches the football. If you sub out Larverdane and put Boston right there, maybe he catches that football in a contested catch situation. So this team wasn't as far off last year with all that was going on. So therefore, I feel like with a more engaged coach, better options on offense, and a defense that still should be good, maybe not great to the where you had Myles Garrett, but at the end of the day, this team should be able to win 10 games.
Emory Hunt, as always, great stuff. Thanks so much for all the time. Appreciate the time, the insight. Thanks very much, Emory.
Appreciate this always, man.
Emory Hunt, make sure you check him out. CBS Sports. Always good and insightful coverage about the Browns as well as the entire NFL. It's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock on Sports for CLE.